Two children vanish without a trace from their own front yard. Days later, their mother disappears with their infant sister. There are no suspects, there have been no arrests. But now a key figure in this baffling mystery claims to have seen signs that the children are still alive. Could it be that 8-year-old Lilly and 6-year-old Jake Sullivan weren't taken by a stranger, but are being hidden by their own family? Tonight, we're delving into a case that is so full of twists, conflicting stories, and whispers of conspiracy that it feels like it's on the verge of being cracked wide open. This is the confounding and deeply troubling story of the disappearance of Lilly and Jake Sullivan. Hello, and welcome to Cold Crime Cases. If you're a believer in justice and captivated by mysteries that demand answers, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that like button and let us know in the comments where you're watching from tonight. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update on the cases we cover. We appreciate you being here. Now, let's get into tonight's case. Case Introduction. In a quiet, rural community in Canada, where the biggest news is often the changing of the seasons, the Sullivan Martell family was, for all intents and purposes, just another blended family navigating the complexities of life. At the heart of this family were Lilly and Jake Sullivan. Lilly, at 8 years old, was described by those who knew her as a bright, sweet, and energetic soul, with a protective instinct over her younger brother. 6-year-old Jake was her shadow, a happy and adventurous boy, rarely seen without a ball at his feet or a mischievous grin on his face. Together, they were a vibrant duo, their laughter often echoing through their yard where they loved to play. But one seemingly ordinary morning, that laughter fell silent. The familiar rhythm of their lives shattered, turning a normal day into an enduring nightmare for their loved ones and a perplexing puzzle for law enforcement. The story of what happened to Lilly and Jake is not a simple one of a tragic disappearance. It is a convoluted saga, entangled with a web of accusations, strange behaviors, and a cast of characters whose motives and actions have only served to deepen the mystery. At the center of this storm is Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather. Initially, he was the man who appeared on camera, distraught, pleading for the safe return of his stepchildren, and inevitably, he was the first person to fall under the heavy shadow of suspicion. Then there is Malia, the children's biological mother. In the crucial days following her children's vanishing, her actions or lack thereof would raise 1,000 questions. And then, in a shocking turn, Malia herself would disappear, taking her and Daniel's youngest child, an infant named Meadow, with her. This act would cleave the case in two, creating two very distinct and warring narratives. On one side, we have Malia's family, particularly her mother, Cindy. Daniel Martell alleges that Cindy is the puppet master, controlling her daughter and actively helping to conceal the children from the world, and from him. On the other side of this fractured family portrait is Belinda Gray, the paternal grandmother of Lilly and Jake. Her observations of Malia in the immediate aftermath of the children's disappearance offer a chilling and entirely different perspective, one that casts doubt on everyone involved. And hovering over this entire ordeal is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP. Their investigation has been characterized by an unusual and frustrating silence, a tight-lipped approach that has left the public and the children's family grasping for answers in the dark. This is not just a story of two missing children. It is a story of a family imploding, of narratives at war, and of a search for truth in a fog of uncertainty. Timeline and crime details. The last time anyone has a confirmed, undisputed sighting of Lilly and Jake, they were doing what they did on most days. They were playing in their yard, a familiar and presumably safe space surrounded by the comforting sounds of their rural home. They were happy, they were together, and they were completely unaware that they were on the precipice of vanishing from their own lives. One moment they were there, their playful shouts a part of the day's soundtrack, and the next they were gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned toys, no torn clothing, nothing to suggest a violent abduction. No one in the quiet neighborhood reported hearing any screams or sounds of distress. It was as if the earth had simply opened up and swallowed them whole. The only clue, if it can be called that, came later when scent-sniffing dogs were brought to the scene. The dogs, trained to follow a person's unique scent, tracked Lilly and Jake's trail from the yard, down the length of their driveway, right to the edge of the road. And there, the trail went cold. The scent just stopped, hanging in the air with no further direction. The immediate and most logical conclusion was that the children had gotten into a vehicle. But who was driving that vehicle, and were Lilly and Jake passengers by choice or by force? That question remains the agonizing heart of this entire investigation. In the immediate aftermath, a frantic search began. Neighbors and local volunteers scoured the surrounding woods and fields, their calls of Lilly and Jake echoing unanswered. But as the hours bled into days, a new and baffling development would derail the investigation entirely. Just as the community was trying to grapple with the disappearance of the two Sullivan children, their mother, Malia, and their infant half-sister, Meadow, vanished too. Malia didn't leave a note. She didn't tell Daniel, her partner, where she was going. She simply packed up the baby and disappeared into the ether, taking with her any chance of a united front in the search for Lilly and Jake. It was Daniel Martell who reported all three of them missing. He presented himself as a distraught stepfather and partner caught in an unimaginable nightmare. The public saw a man on the brink, his life torn apart in a matter of days. Naturally, the initial police focus, as is standard in such cases, fell squarely on him. As the stepfather, the last adult to be in a position of care for the children, he was the logical starting point. The investigators began their questioning, digging into his life, his relationship with Malia, and his history. But as they probed deeper, something strange happened. The investigation was about to take a sharp and decisive turn away from Daniel Martell and toward the very person who should have been searching alongside him, the children's mother, Malia. Investigation and evidence. The initial suspicion surrounding Daniel Martell began to dissipate almost as quickly as it had formed. To the surprise of many who were following the case, Daniel appeared to be an open book with the RCMP. He cooperated fully with every request, answered every question, and in a significant move to clear his name, he voluntarily took and passed a polygraph test. While the results of a lie detector test are not admissible in a Canadian court of law, passing one can go a long way in shifting the perception of investigators and the public. For Daniel, it was a crucial turning point. He wasn't just cooperating, he was actively pointing the finger. Emboldened by the polygraph result, Daniel Martell began to construct a powerful and consistent narrative. He claimed that Malia, the children's biological mother, was the key to the entire mystery. He alleged that she had taken Lilly and Jack, and that her subsequent disappearance with baby Meadow was not a sign of a woman in distress, but a calculated flight from scrutiny. This narrative wasn't just coming from Daniel. It was being amplified and corroborated by a small but vocal circle of his allies, most notably two individuals named Logan and Darwood O'Grady. Through a series of live streams and podcast interviews, this trio presented a united front. They painted a picture of Malia as an emotionally unstable woman, terrified of losing custody of her children and potentially facing legal repercussions for reasons that they hinted at but never fully clarified. According to them, her running was an admission of guilt. This synchronized campaign from Daniel's corner stood in stark contrast to the deafening silence from Malia. She refused to cooperate with the RCMP. There were no public pleas for her children's return, no interviews with the media, no statements released through a lawyer. Her family, particularly her mother Cindy, also became evasive, reportedly refusing to engage with investigators who were desperately trying to locate Malia and the children. This refusal to cooperate, to even confirm that she and Meadow were safe, was seen by many as deeply suspicious. Why would a mother whose two older children are missing refuse to help the very people trying to find them? Adding another layer of complexity to the investigation is the contradictory account of Belinda Gray, Lilly and Jake's paternal grandmother. Belinda's observations paint a very different and arguably more chilling picture of Malaya in the hours and days after her children went missing. She described Malaya's demeanor not as that of a frantic, heartbroken mother, but as cold and unnervingly calm. Belinda recalled a woman who seemed detached and unengaged in the search efforts, an observation that she found profoundly disturbing. Belinda also cast doubt on the narrative being pushed by Daniel Martell about Cody Sullivan, the children's biological father. Daniel had portrayed Cody as a source of past trauma for Malaya, perhaps providing a motive for her to run. Belinda, however, described her son Cody as being withdrawn and quiet, but fully cooperated with the authorities. These contradictory accounts leave us with a tangled mess of he said, she said. But one piece of physical evidence, or rather the lack of it, keeps rising to the surface: the scent dogs. The fact that the children's scent trail ended abruptly at the road strongly indicates they were picked up in a vehicle. This wasn't a case of two children wandering off into the woods and getting lost. It was a departure. And the question that haunts this case is whether it was a departure orchestrated by a loving mother trying to protect her children, or a calculated move by a guilty party with the help of her family. Theories and conflicts. As the official investigation stalled, the court of public opinion went into overdrive. With so many conflicting narratives and a frustrating lack of concrete answers from the RCMP, several dominant theories have emerged, each attempting to make sense of the senseless. The first theory, and the one pushed most heavily by Daniel Martell and his supporters, is that Daniel's circle is telling the truth and Malaya orchestrated the entire event. In this version of the story, Malaya, fearing she was about to lose custody of Lilly and Jake, or perhaps facing some other form of legal trouble, decided to take drastic action. She arranged for someone, possibly a family member, to pick up Lilly and Jake from the end of the driveway. Then, a few days later, she herself disappeared with baby Meadow to join them in a new hidden life. Her family, particularly her mother Cindy, is seen as the primary accomplice, providing the resources and the safe haven for Malaya and the three children. Her silence and refusal to cooperate with police are viewed as the actions of a person who has something to hide, because she is, in fact, hiding the children. But this leads to a counter-theory, that Daniel's circle is the one controlling the narrative. Is it possible that the highly public, synchronized campaign by Daniel, Logan, and Darwood O'Grady is not a quest for the truth, but a sophisticated form of damage control? The coordinated nature of their statements has led some to question whether they are attempting to preemptively poison the well against Malaya, painting her as unstable and guilty before she ever has a chance to tell her side of the story. If Daniel were involved in the children's disappearance, what better way to deflect suspicion than to create a compelling and public narrative that points the finger at the missing mother? A third theory attempts to find a middle ground, suggesting that Malaya did run with the children, but not out of malice. This theory posits that Malaya may have been in a state of genuine fear, perhaps related to a volatile domestic situation that the public is not privy to. Her flight with Meadow in this context could be seen as an act of self-preservation. Perhaps she feared for her own safety or the safety of her children and felt that disappearing was her only option. Her family's involvement, then, would be an attempt to protect a loved one they believed to be in danger. This theory, however, struggles to explain why she would not contact the authorities, even anonymously, to ensure the search for Lilly and Jake continued in the right direction. And finally, there is the chilling theory that both parents are in some way uninvolved in the children's ultimate fate, and that a stranger did in fact pick them up at the end of that driveway. The scent ending at the road is the strongest piece of evidence for this. Could it have been a targeted abduction or a crime of opportunity? This theory, while terrifying, is complicated by the subsequent disappearance of Malaya and Meadow. The timing is almost too coincidental to be a separate event. These theories swirl around a set of deeply puzzling questions that the RCMP has yet to answer. First and foremost, why wasn't an Amber Alert never issued? The criteria for an Amber Alert typically include a belief that the children have been abducted and are in imminent danger. The RCMP's decision not to issue one suggests that at least initially they did not believe these criteria were met. Why? Did they have information suggesting the children were with a parent and therefore not in the type of danger an Amber Alert is designed for? Secondly, why has the RCMP remained so silent? They have not publicly named any suspects or even persons of interest. They have not released any forensic updates from the family home or any potential vehicles. This official silence has created a vacuum which has been filled by speculation, frustration, and a growing mistrust of the investigation itself.
Case status and public frustration. Weeks have bled into months, and the seasons have begun to turn, yet the official status of the case of Lilly and Jake Sullivan remains frozen in time. Despite the intense media speculation, the public outcry, and the relentless online sleuthing, the RCMP officially classifies this as a missing persons investigation. It is not, they are careful to state, a criminal one. This distinction is crucial. It means that as far as the public has been told, there is not enough evidence to suggest that a crime, such as a kidnapping or homicide, has occurred. Consequently, no one has been arrested and no one has been charged. The key players in this drama, Daniel, Malia, Cindy, Belinda, remain free, their lives shrouded in suspicion but untouched by legal consequence. This official stance has become a major source of public frustration. For many, the idea that two young children can vanish from their driveway, their mother and infant sister can subsequently disappear, and the authorities do not classify it as a criminal case, beggars belief. The lack of an Amber Alert at the outset continues to be a raw point of contention. The tight-lipped approach of the RCMP, while potentially a strategic decision to protect the integrity of the investigation, has had the unfortunate side effect of eroding public trust. To the families and the concerned public, it feels less like a strategy and more like inaction. The silence from official channels is deafening, and it fuels a sense of hopelessness and anger. Into this void have stepped the online communities. The case of Lilly and Jake has become a fixture on platforms like TikTok, Reddit, and Facebook. Armchair detectives dissect every piece of available information: the interviews with Daniel Martell, the cryptic social media posts from extended family members, the body language and old photographs. They create timelines, diagram relationship maps, and debate the various theories with a passion that often rivals that of the official investigators. These online communities have been instrumental in keeping the case in the public eye, refusing to let Lilly and Jake become just another set of forgotten names on a missing persons register. They create petitions demanding more transparency from the RCMP. They share the children's photos relentlessly, and they apply a constant pressure that they hope will one day lead to a breakthrough. While some criticize this online sleuthing as a breeding ground for rumor and misinformation, there is no denying its power in maintaining momentum and ensuring that the demand for justice never fades away. For many, these online forums are the only place where it feels like the search for Lilly and Jake is still actively and urgently underway. The mystery deepens. Just when it seems the case has grown cold, a new claim or a new observation emerges, pulling everyone back into the vortex of speculation. The mystery of Lilly and Jake Sullivan is not a static one. It continues to evolve, with each new piece of information serving only to deepen the enigma. Daniel Martell, the man at the center of one of the case's two major narratives, has recently made claims that have sent ripples through the online communities following the story. He has stated, though without providing verifiable proof, that he has seen signs that the children are still alive. He speaks of small, fleeting clues that have given him hope. Is this the genuine belief of a desperate stepfather clinging to any shred of optimism? Or is it a calculated statement designed to keep the public's focus on the idea that the children are alive and being hidden by Malia, rather than being the victims of a more sinister fate? Without evidence, his claims hang in the air, both tantalizing and deeply suspect. Meanwhile, Belinda Gray, the children's paternal grandmother, continues to be a voice of quiet but firm skepticism. She insists that something is profoundly wrong with the way both parents, Daniel and her own daughter-in-law Malia, have behaved throughout this ordeal. Her perspective is that of an outsider looking in at the central parental unit, and what she sees unnerves her. She speaks of a lack of authentic emotion, of stories that don't quite add up, and of a general sense of performance from all sides. Her steadfast belief that the truth has not yet been told serves as a constant reminder that the easy answers are rarely the right ones. This leaves those of us watching from the outside in a state of perpetual uncertainty. We are left to weigh the competing narratives and ask ourselves a series of unsettling questions. Is Daniel Martell an innocent man, a victim who has been wrongfully accused and is now fighting a desperate battle to find his stepchildren while being smeared by his partner's family? His cooperation with police and his passing of a polygraph would seem to support this. Or is he a master manipulator, using his allies and his access to media platforms to control the story and deflect his own culpability? And what of Malia? Is she a frightened mother on the run, protecting her children from a danger we cannot see? Is she a victim of coercion, controlled by her own family and forced into a life of hiding? Or is she the architect of her children's disappearance, a cold and calculating figure who has successfully vanished 3 children and is now living a secret life, shielded by her silent family? The truth feels tantalizingly close, yet buried under layers of accusations and secrecy. Is it possible that the truth is something far more complex, something that no one has yet considered, or something that no one is ready to admit? Every new claim, every new interview, every new silence only serves to deepen the shadows around this case, leaving us all to wonder what really happened at the end of that quiet rural driveway. Into the storm of theories, accusations, and investigations, it's easy to lose sight of the silent, innocent victims at the heart of this tragedy: Lilly and Jake Sullivan, an 8-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. Their toys lie untouched, gathering dust. Their rooms are frozen in time, beds unmade, waiting for children who may never return. And let us not forget Meadow, the baby, who has also vanished into this mystery. 3 children, swallowed by a conflict they had no part in creating. 3 children for whom there are no answers. And for those who love them, like their grandmother, every day is a torment. She prays, she waits, she hopes for a knock on the door, for a phone call that will end the agonizing uncertainty. This is the true cost of this unsolved case, the unending grief and the desperate fading hope of a family torn apart. We're left where we began, with a series of haunting and unanswered questions. Where are Lilly and Jake Sullivan? Where is their baby sister? Is their mother Malia protecting them, or is she hiding them as part of a calculated deception? Is their stepfather Daniel Martell a victim in this, or a performer? And perhaps most critically, did the police in the crucial early days miss something vital that sent this investigation down the wrong path? Now, we turn these questions over to you. What do you think happened to these children? Based on everything you've heard tonight, are they still alive, hiding somewhere and waiting to be found? Is someone close to them, someone who should have protected them, responsible for their disappearance? Or are we witnessing a massive, coordinated cover-up? Drop your theories and your thoughts in the comments below. This case could be one post, one clue, one tip away from being solved. If you love cold cases and believe in the power of public awareness to bring about justice, please subscribe to Cold Crime Cases and share this video to keep the pressure on. Someone out there knows something. Let's make sure they speak up. For Lilly, for Jake, and for Meadow, let's keep searching for the truth.